Macron hits historic low in popularity. 80% of the French people want President Emmanuel Macron out of office. And that stinging remark did not come from a domestic rival, but from Italy itself. Strangely enough, the statement reflects Macron's political reality today. Once seen as the man who would revive France, perhaps even lead Europe, he is now engulfed in scandal, isolation, and resentment. At home, he is despised by voters, shunned by political elites, and resented by foreign leaders. Macron has even been remembered for an embarrassing moment when his wife slapped him lightly in front of the media, an image that turned the presidency into a symbol of disdain. So how did a once charismatic young leader, hailed as France's future, end up being called the world's most disliked president? A cascade of scandals. Before diving into the deeper reasons, it is worth recalling the long string of controversies surrounding them. Just days ago, Italy's Deputy Prime Minister Matteo Salvini launched a direct attack, mocking Macron's push for Europe to send troops to Ukraine. If Macron is so eager, Salvini sneered, he should put on a helmet, grab a backpack, and head to the front himself. Salvini then drove the knife deeper. Macron, he said, is at the lowest approval rating in French history, with 80% of the public waiting for him to leave office. Meanwhile, in Paris, Macron staged a show of solidarity with Kyiv, bathing monuments in Ukraine's colors and tweeting Independence Day greetings in Ukrainian. Ukrainians welcomed the gesture, but many French citizens saw it as out of touch at a time of inflation, social unrest, and economic pain. Even allies have turned on him. The U.S. ambassador to France recently rebuked Macron for failing to confront rising anti-Semitism, citing the near-daily attacks on Jewish individuals, synagogues, and schools. The French Foreign Ministry hit back, summoning the ambassador to declare such public criticism unacceptable. Yet the damage was done. Another stain on Macron's global image. Political gambles and economic woes. In 2024, Macron stunned France by dissolving the National Assembly and calling snap elections, an all-or-nothing gamble to test his survival. Officially, he blamed gridlock with the opposition. But in truth, it was a desperate attempt to reclaim legitimacy after his party's disastrous showing in the European Parliament elections. His Renaissance Party managed only 15.2% of the vote, while Marine Le Pen's far-right National Rally secured a commanding 31.5%. The economy has hardly helped. Growth slowed to just 0.9% in 2023, far below the 2.5% the year before. The budget deficit ballooned to 5.5% of GDP, raising fears of cuts to public services. Billions sent to Ukraine only deepened resentment at home, where many felt their government cared more about foreign wars than domestic struggles. Even his immigration policies, hardline enough to woo the right, were condemned by the left, leaving Macron politically stranded. The beer, Beijing, and blunders. Some scandals bordered on the absurd. In June 2023, Macron chugged a full beer in 17 seconds while celebrating with a rugby team. Athletes cheered, but health officials and critics lambasted the president for glamorizing binge drinking, undermining decades of public health campaigns. That same year, after visiting China, Macron told reporters that Europe should avoid becoming a follower of Washington or Beijing on Taiwan. The remarks sparked outrage, with critics accusing him of appeasing China at the very moment it staged military drills around the island. Washington bristled, warning that Macron's words undermined Western unity over Ukraine and Taiwan. His COVID-19 management was equally controversial. In May 2020, while the virus still raged, Macron unveiled a post-lockdown plan that reopened schools far earlier than neighboring Italy or Spain. More than 300 Paris mayors revolted, calling the plan reckless and unworkable. To many, it looked like Macron was gambling with children's health for political optics. Early missteps and the yellow vest revolt. Macron's troubles began almost as soon as he took office. In 2018, he faced fury for plans to build a private swimming pool at his summer residence with taxpayer funds, while his wife, Brigitte, drew outrage for ordering an extravagant new dinnerware set for the Élysée Palace. He was also ridiculed for using a private jet for a 110-kilometer trip. That same year, the Gilets jaunes, yellow vest, protests exploded. What began as anger over rising fuel prices escalated into a nationwide movement demanding his resignation. More than 350,000 people filled the streets, and in just 6 weeks, Macron's approval rating collapsed by 20 points, the steepest drop in modern French politics. To make matters worse, his top bodyguard was caught on video beating a protester. Initially suspended, the aide was later fired only after public outcry, feeding suspicions of a presidential cover-up. Why the hatred? Why has Macron, France's youngest president in history, become so detested? The answer lies in both his style and his substance. First, his rhetoric often comes across as arrogant. When speaking to an unemployed man at the Élysée, Macron casually remarked, "Finding a job is easy. Just cross the street and I'll get you one." In a country long divided by class and inequality, such words were seen as cruelly dismissive. He was branded the president of the rich. Second, Macron concentrated power in the presidency, sidelining prime ministers and ministers. When he abolished France's wealth tax while simultaneously cutting housing subsidies for students and the poor, he reinforced the perception that he governed for the elite. His infamous comment, "Losing €5 a month, what's the big deal?" only deepened public anger. These decisions ignited the Yellow Vest movement, but the resentment never truly faded. From lavish optics like swimming pools and private jets to mishandling crises from COVID-19 to Ukraine, Macron came to embody extravagance, aloofness, and misjudgment. Conclusion. Over the years, the cracks multiplied until by 2023 to 2024, only a few political and economic shocks were enough to push his approval to rock bottom. Macron entered office as a reformist prodigy, but in the eyes of many French citizens, he now symbolizes arrogance, elitism, and broken promises. His presidency is no longer viewed as the dawn of renewal, but as one of the most unpopular in modern global politics.